Minister, I acknowledge the fact that you said earlier that the Minister for Finance had previously announced that there would be a fund created to provide additional funding for investment in community safety projects. I think it was the Community Safety Innovation Fund that you called it, for projects from the proceeds invested in community safety for projects from the proceeds of CAB. But we also need additional funding for social services to build resilience in communities, and it is vitally important that though they are community focused and community based, and that they're in the communities, they're coming from within the communities that have been directly affected. And I hope it's not, the idea is not the setting up of a type of forum like the JPCs. They have their place, etc. But, you know, many would see that they don't reflect the communities that are in the thick of this, and that they're made up sometimes of the great and the good, and also that the opinion is there that they can sometimes be a talking shop. But during the recession, so many services were cut or closed, and now we're seeing the consequences of it. And it's certainly the case in my hometown of Drogheda. We had endured savage cuts to local services, to policing and local government, and we need now to build up youth and addiction services in particular to protect our young people from getting dragged into this type of crime and that type of scene all over again. And Drogheda, I think it's fair to say, it's the largest town in Ireland, but it has suffered probably more than most large towns, and we've experienced all those serious problems throughout when the drug feud erupted. We had the violence, we had extortion, we had arson, we had assaults, and we had murder. It had ripped communities apart. It had sucked young people into lives of drug addiction and crime, and the fear that instilled in the community and the terror right across the community, we never, ever want to see that again. Now, the Minister for Justice, as we know, had commissioned that report on Drogheda, which was published in March by Vivian Guerin, and the Guerin report laid bare for all to see the long-lasting effects of austerity and cuts to service in Drogheda. But it had over 70 recommendations, and the two main findings were the need to improve interagency cooperation and the need for increased resources and additional services. And you hear that over and over again. They are the two obvious things. But there's 70 recommendations in that report. And whilst I welcome the announcement today that the Drogheda Implementation Board has been set up and it's been headed by Michael Keogh, it's a good first step, right? Also the fact that the Martin O'Brien of the LMETB will host the new structures to deliver services in Drogheda, that's also welcome. As a first step, but there are concerns in Drogheda. You know, Minister Humphrey's statement today said the implementation plan will be published before the summer break, right? So that's next week. So hopefully the plan will clarify matters at the moment, because we've no clear detail of any plan thus far. You know, we've no plan, we've no detail, we've no timeframes, we've no idea of what sort of funding, whether all the 70 recommendations will be addressed and will be implemented. This bill here tonight, right? I just want to tell you, you had said you're not opposing it, and that's okay, but you're not going with it, right? The Chief Superintendent in Drogheda and Superintendent for the Louth Meath Division had actually stated publicly that he would be in favour of the proceeds from CAB being ring-fenced to go directly into the communities that were directly affected by the drugs feud and the gang wars. The JPCs, the Joint Policing Committees, have also stated that publicly and are in favour of it. And just take this opportunity to commend, actually, Chief Superintendent Christy Mangan and his team for the work that they did throughout the feud. and all of the team and the additional resources when we eventually got them. They did Trojan work in operation status. But the whole thing is, Minister, that there was a lot of work put into that report. There was widespread consultation. There were 70 recommendations made, and each and every one of those recommendations are as worthy as the next. Now, I've heard nothing thus far about, OK, the board has been set up, if you like, and the people taking task. Yeah, but we've heard nothing, and this is the important thing. We have to follow through. We need timeframes. We need exactly how many, if not all, of the recommendations, because if you're ever going to get to the root of this, you have to invest in communities, and you have to address the utter neglect for decades that Drogheda has had, and you have to get that community spirit back in the town, address the addiction service and all of that. So I'll hold off and wait until the Minister's announcement next week. The devil is in the detail, as I say, and we'll see what timeframes, what proposals are, and what funding is there to enact those proposals. Thank you.